What is going on with y'all, man? It's Black Balloon, and we are coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on. Alright, y'all. Now today, we are getting into one of the most widely known names in the entertainment industry. He goes by Vince McMahon. He is worth over $2 billion. He's had the power and money to be able to do anything he's wanted in life for a very long time. Recently, he stepped down from the WWE in light of allegations against him that include sexual assault, rape, and sex trafficking as well. So these are serious allegations. Now, in this video, we'll take the time to go all the way back and hear people who have accused Vince McMahon and, his colleagues and other execs that were, a part of the WWF and everything back in the 90s, late 80s. And we're going to listen to them tell stories of how they went through some of the same things that he's being accused of now. None of this stuff is new to Vince McMahon. His name is at the end of a lot of theories, even when it comes to wrestlers who were sacrificed in the wrestling industry. He's tied in it with pretty much everything. Anything, any conspiracy, any kind of theory of truth or darkness that has to do with the WWE, Vince McMahon is pretty much at the end of it. It damn near all leads back to him. I'm glad I kind of took the time to do this video because I found some clips that were, very worth watching. And it kind of gives us an idea that this stuff has been going on for over 30 years. I think it might have took 30 years for it to catch up to him. But we all know the wrestling industry is just like anything else. Film industry, music industry. They require the same things. They require sex for advancement. It's pretty much the same thing. It's dark, it's demonic, it's evil, it's vile. It's all sexual. And I think this is only a piece of the truth. I don't think we may ever really know how dark it really got, or the things that they have really done, because a person like Vince McMahon, worth that much money, he can do anything. We've talked about it, how having that much money, it makes a man like that sick. You already have, the desires just naturally. And when you're able to do whatever you want in this world and you think you're able to do it to whoever you want to do it to, in turn, you become sick. You become a sick-minded individual. All right, y'all. So we will go ahead and get into the first clip of this video. So with that being said, check this out. All right, y'all. We're going to wait on that clip for 1 minute. Now, I thought it would be important for us to actually read a little bit of the details from the lawsuit against McMahon. So first we can get an idea of everything, and then we'll go into the clips that I have from people that were associated with McMahon back in the 80s and the 90s, right? The plaintiff is Janelle Grant. That is the lady who is filing the lawsuit against McMahon. So it says, and we're just going to read over a few things. It's kind of crazy. It's very close to what the lawsuit with Diddy and Cassie was. So it says, as McMahon dangled career-making and life-changing promises in front of Miss Grant, he demonstrated an increasing lack of boundaries. During several meetings that were about a job at WWE, he greeted her in his underwear, touched her repeatedly, asked for hugs, and spent hours sharing intimate details about his personal life. McMahon warned Miss Grant to keep their closeness secret, lest rumors led to public trouble, and added that, while he protects loyal people, he had world-class legal resources on speed dial to deal with people who become a problem. McMahon's sexual demands are facing ruin. Ms. Grant fears she had everything to lose and face negative consequences no matter what happened. After succumbing to the pressure for a physical relationship, Ms. Grant was slotted into an entry-level position as an administrator coordinator, a position McMahon created for her WWE's legal department. Ms. Grant began to work in that role June 17, 2019. Despite Mrs. Grant's expressions of unhappiness and attempts to end a sexual relationship, and while she came to understand that McMahon expected the physical relationship to continue as part of her employment, she had no idea how sordid it would become, nor how the psychological torture and physical violence would leave her feeling hopeless, isolated, and trapped. In March 2020, McMahon began sharing sexually explicit photographs and videos of Miss Grant with other men, both inside and outside the company, including with members of the television production tech team executives, producers, and world-famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion with whom WWE was actively trying to sign a new contract with. It goes on to say McMahon recruited individuals to have sexual relations with Miss Grant, or with the two of them. He directed Miss Grant to visit defendant Laurinaitis prior to the start of workdays for sexual encounters, and expected and directed Miss Grant to engage in sexual activity at the WWE headquarters, even during working hours. That's why I said this sounded a lot like the lawsuit with Cassie and Diddy. And there's also text messages of the stuff that he sent the lady, and it's wild. I don't know if I'm gonna read it. We may read it without saying anything, but the text messages are wild. All this time, McMahon ordered Miss Grant to keep their relationship secret, including lying to maintain whatever cover stories he fabricated. McMahon's assurances that Miss Grant was safe and independent rang hollow in light of his efforts to isolate her from friends and attempts to chip away at her identity until it was replaced with a desired role for her as his bitch, his fantasy, or his porn star. He exercised complete ownership and control over both her personal and professional lives. McMahon also subjected Miss Grant to acts of extreme cruelty and degradation that caused Miss Grant to disassociate or become numb to reality in order to survive the horrific encounters. As one example of McMahon's extreme depravity, on May 9, 2020, he defecated on Miss Grant during a threesome and then commanded her to continue pleasuring his friend with feces in her hair and running down her back while McMahon went to the bathroom to shower off. That is insane. Upon his return from the bathroom, McMahon and his friend actively resumed the threesome, which lasted over an hour and a half, while Miss Grant remained covered in McMahon's filth. When McMahon's friend left, McMahon ordered her to stay and continue to sexually gratify him. In June 2021, McMahon and defendant Laurinaitis sexually assaulted Miss Grant inside a Laurinaitis office in WWE headquarters while colleagues were busy at their desk. Behind a locked door, the two men cornered her and pulled her in between them, forcibly touched her before ultimately putting her on top of a table in between them. She begged them to stop, but they forced themselves on her, each taking turns restraining her for the other while saying no means yes, and you gonna take it. Unsurprisingly, others at the WWE knew what was going on, but instead of intervening to protect Miss Grant, WWE actively sought to conceal the wrongdoing.
Now stepping forward, a lot of men saying that there's a good deal of gay sex abuse underway in the world of wrestling, and everybody all these years has been scared to step forward. Now come forward a number of people to say, because I wouldn't have sex with another guy in the game, I couldn't get promoted, including three, honestly, some. Well, listen, while you're laughing, this has been a not so funny issue for women. Now we have a casting couch, essentially, alleged in the wrestling game, and some guys are saying, I lost my job because I wouldn't do this to this guy who was higher, more powerful than me on the ladder. And before you think this is trivial, first of all, let's understand that a couple of these charges involve kids, 14 years old, juveniles. You go to jail for a long time if you're involved with sex of any kind with a juvenile. One more point. The Wrestling Federation, you know how you tee-hee, ha-ha, what a joke, hoo-hoo, $1.7 billion in 1990. That's more revenue that has been generated by the NFL. So while you're laughing, somebody is whistling all the way to the bank. We have three people who used to be in the wrestling game who are going to tell you that they indeed encountered people who wanted sexual favors, and they were professionally penalized when they said no.
Now, in that clip from the Phil Donahue show, I want y'all to notice something. He talked about 14-year-olds being molested by the WWF at that time. Now, for the people that don't know, the WWE was once the WWF, and they lost that name in court to another company that was WWF, some kind of wildlife company, and that's how they changed their name to WWE. On the Phil Donahue show, and that's where I got the majority of these clips from, because it's really important to listen to that segment that they did with Vince McMahon. WWE has seen many controversies and scandals come through the company. The 1992 Ring Boy scandal lives on as one of the company's darkest tales, mostly swept under the rug. WWF officials, including Director of Wrestling Operations Terry Garvin, ring announcer Mel Phillips, and Pat Patterson, were accused of sexual misconduct. The sex scandal was also covered on the Phil Donahue show, which we just watched. The article is from 2021, so I'm going to assume he committed suicide in early 2021. He was one of the main accusers in the scandal for child molestation at that time. He accused the company of letting in a child molester and covering it up as well. Now, this is from his brother. He said, "My brother Tom committed suicide a couple of hours ago. Vince McMahon and his wife Linda let child molesters into their companies years ago and did everything possible to cover it up and what they did to my brother." A journalist provided some more clarity in this situation. He tweeted in reply to the message from Tom Cole's brother to reiterate that Cole never changed his story about what happened to him. Tom Cole, 50, the central accuser in the WWE Ring Boy molestation scandal, killed himself tonight. I'll have a lot more to say, but this sucks. If you don't know his story, then start with my BI feature from October. Something I should make clear, as I have a feeling it may come up. Tom Cole never changed his story. There was periods where he was more forgiving of the McMahons than WWE, but as more time passed, he got vague in public about what happened. Pat Patterson, Terry Garvin, and Mel Phillips all resigned from the WWE after the scandal. Patterson later returned to the company. WWE has cut a ton of footage with Mel Phillips from the WWE network. The allegations were basically them engaging in a casting couch culture with male wrestlers and other personnel, while also enabling Phillips to use his job to groom and molest underage ring boys who he brought in as day laborers on his crew. This is crazy. They were actually molesting little boys. They had some pretty sick people working for the WWF at that time. Pretty sick, and Vince knew all about it. And there's a very good chance that Vince participated in some of this as well. It says, however, just as the scandal started breaking publicly in March 1992, McMahon conceded to the New York Post that he had previously fired Phillips over his suspicion that his relationship with kids seemed peculiar and unnatural, only to rehire that same man weeks later. So Phillips is the guy that we've been talking about, that were a part of the original three who resigned because they were caught. This is McMahon covering up the fact, that he knew his colleagues had peculiar interests and relationships with little boys.
Billy, tell him, you saw ring boys, did you, being sexually harassed?
Yes, I've seen ring boys being sexually harassed.
What's a ring boy?
A ring boy is a person who's usually employed to put up and take down a ring, travel from one town to another. Age group possibly from 13 to 19 to 20, fluctuates anywhere in between.
And you saw what?
I saw on one occasion, in I believe it was New Haven, Connecticut, Pat Patterson actually grabbed one of these children, in the crotch while putting up the ring. I came to the ring a little bit early, walking by the ring to the locker room, and I saw Pat Patterson with his left arm on the kid's shoulder and his right hand in his crotch. I witnessed this for myself.
You also claim to have, you did not see the abuse of a 12-year-old boy in the car. You mentioned this on Larry King's program.
I wasn't on Larry King's program.
Weren't you? I'm sorry, Barry, I'm sorry. Sorry, you weren't. Bruno was. We'll get to Bruno in a moment. Did you see, you didn't see the abuse of a 12-year-old in a car by the ring announcer, did you?
I didn't see the actual abuse. I was there the night in Allentown, Pennsylvania, when Mel Phillips was caught in the front seat of a car with a child approximately 10 years old performing oral sexual on this child of 10 years old.
And rehires the same man that he said he fired because of that reason. So this is why I said in the beginning of the video, he became a sick individual. It's been that way. They have things that run very deep and dark in the entertainment world of wrestling. It's crazy. I figured we would get down this rabbit hole and find some stuff like this, but I'm glad I went digging a little bit deeper than just talking about, the new lawsuit that he has, which that is wicked. But this is crazy when it comes to messing with these little ones. It's crazy. So look, we'll go ahead and check out a little bit more from the Donahue show, because it's a little bit more I want y'all to listen to, right? So check this out.
That sexual harassment exists in your workplace?
I believe that there's a possibility of sexual harassment existing everywhere. And
I asked directly if it was in the World Wrestling Federation.
I don't want it in my organization. I don't want it.
I'd like to reiterate the question. Do you believe there is sexual harassment amongst the wrestlers or employees of the World Wrestling Federation today?
There is a possibility of that. That's why I have these independent investigators to come in.
And who are these independent investigators?
Fairfax Group Limited. And I would like, to hear what you have to say, and everyone has to say. I want to get to the bottom of it.
Would you therefore believe that because of all these allegations coming forward and more corroborating evidence proving that there's no doubt sexual harassment is running rampant in the World Wrestling Federation, that you are definitely going to come public and do something about it?
Why wouldn't I? If in fact that is the case, why wouldn't I do something about it? Why would I risk what we have?
Because you haven't done anything about it until it became public, because you thought it was underwater.
Because I had no knowledge of it.
I made knowledge of it to you when I was fired, and you just blew it off and let me go. I retained a lawyer.
Because you were not very good. You were not a very good announcer. You could not. That's the only reason why you were fired. You could not make the transition from radio to television. That is the only reason why you were fired.
I would like to remind you, sir, that I have a 2-year contract. 2 years.
You also have a clause in your contract that states, and as you know, you were hired on a trial basis.
I was not hired on a trial basis.
You do not have a contract?
Mr. McMahon, I have a 2-year deal with your firm.
In that contract, you will note, in a clause, it states very clearly, and I have it outlined for all to see here today, that you can be fired almost at whim, if in fact you're not doing a good job. You did a horrible job. That's the only reason why you were fired. That's it.
Maybe I should point out, first and foremost, that might be your inability to pick good talent.
It could be.
You had a national talent search, Vince McMahon.
Could be.
You advertised in Billboard magazine and across many different media sources searching for one man that could be the new face and voice of the World Wrestling Federation. You flew me in back and forth 4 and 5 different times from Detroit, and you chose over the course of 1 year of negotiations that I would be the man for that job. I didn't sleep with your vice president. 2 weeks later, I'm fired. I also want to point out one very important fact. From your office came a letter to my landlord to verify my employment. From that letter, I must bring this point up. It says, Murray Hodson has a very secure job with Titan Sports and is a positive and productive employee. From your office. Just because I don't sleep with your vice president, that qualifies to blow me out of a 2-year deal? I don't buy it.
Great. Well, said very well, but I believe untrue. If in fact these allegations against Pat Patterson, whom you won't name, are true, why not pursue the legal course, the legal recourse? Why not pursue?
We are doing that right now.
You are. And you are aware that you waited 6 months after you were let go to bring these homosexual charges against Pat Patterson. 6 months you waited. Why?
September 14th.
If in fact you were fired on the spot, if you were fired for incompetence, all right, why didn't you say right then, why didn't you say, hey, look, Vince, your vice president made a pass at me. You never told me that. No one had any knowledge. Human Resources had no knowledge of that. Rene Dubose was waiting to hear your story. Why did you wait 6 months? You asked me for $160,000 today, otherwise you were coming on this program. I'm happy you're on this program.
Mr. McMahon, do not try to deflect the truth here. First and foremost.
What are you asking for? How much money have you asked for?
I have never asked for any amount of money from you. You have tried to buy me off to shut up so I wouldn't come forward and tell of these allegations that's running through the World Wrestling Federation.
Your attorney should be consulted.
My attorney, on September of 1991, came forward to you with a letter addressed to you, telling you exactly what happened and that I was discharged wrongfully. I had a 2-year contract and that you too were well aware of the fact that there was a homosexual advance made against me. Don't tell me I waited 6 months. 3 weeks later, I was on your rear end.
3 months later?
6 weeks later.
No.
The only reason we waited a little longer was because you continued to try to negotiate to buy me out, and I wouldn't allow it.
I was a loser. I'm not real big. I never made a lot of money in the business. I didn't really expect to go in the WWF, make a lot of money. But
You wanted to be in the game.
Yeah, I love the business. I worked I worked for $10 a night sometimes in Tennessee, just to wrestle, just to be in the business.
Right.
At the time, in '85, I was wrestling in Hawaii, in Mexico, and Southern California. So I asked Pat for, if you give me a shot or at least a tryout. He said, well, you got 2 chances, slim and none. He goes, well, there is one way. And he wanted me to come up to the room with him and have oral sex with him. And I said, oh, I'm not interested. And after that, I went to the next show they had at the sports arena. Went down to the dressing room where they'd always let me, I was in the dressing room, friends with a lot of the other wrestlers there. And Pat had me physically thrown out after that, acted like he didn't know me.
Right.
All right, y'all. Now we've come to the end of this video, and I think we have covered everything we need to know and to understand that this stuff has been going on for a very long time. That show was back in 1986, and these were grown men telling you that they were once, in a position where they could have went against their morals. They could have accepted what they were being offered in order to move up in the WWE world, and they denied it. They were offered to have oral sex with another man. These are grown men telling you this. I don't think a grown man wants to just come out and say it, just to jump on the train of getting Vince McMahon in trouble for, hiding this stuff. And you could tell McMahon was very uncomfortable in that show. He was denying everything. He said, oh, none of this came to me. I didn't know anything about it, blah, blah, blah. When truthfully, he was friends with these people. His colleagues, people that were right next to him every single day that he worked with, some of his right-hand men were involved with little ones and offering other grown men sexual favors in order for them to even participate in being a part of the WWF at that time. So that's why I wanted us to really cover that, just in case a lot of you haven't seen that. I know a lot of people haven't because, I think you got to be a real wrestling fan to dig that deep to really know what was going on. With all the scandals that McMahon has been a part of and that he chose to, not acknowledge or, him basically them trying to keep everything within the WWF at that time. Just like one of the dudes said, it's basically like code if you're in the entertainment industry as far as wrestling goes. You don't snitch on nobody. They, try and solve it within what's going on, which honestly, that's some of the most sick, evil things because the person that's supposed to, do something about it is the one that's also committing these vile acts as well. And that is Vince McMahon. And I don't think anything came out about him molesting any little ones. But it's not far-fetched that he might have been involved in it as well. So all around, y'all, it's a crazy, sick story. And to know that, these people are still out here in this world, like just because they quit the entertainment industry or they were softly caught, nothing was really done about it. This stuff continues. I just couldn't imagine being that kind of person, like so sick-minded that I want to grab the crotch of a 14-year-old boy. That is insane to me. I don't understand it. I never will understand it. But we live in a sick world, y'all. We really do live in a sick world. And this is the kind of stuff that needs to be exposed. No matter how old you are, 78-year-old billionaire, eventually your time will come. And that goes for everybody. So with that being said, y'all, that was the Vince McMahon video. Hope y'all enjoyed that video. Please let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. If y'all got anything else to add, all of my wrestling heads out there, anything I might have missed that pertains to this story, y'all let me know. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. So with that being said, it's Black Balloon, and I'm gonna see y'all soon. I'm out.